Welcome. I'm Tucker Mayor Frank Auman, and thanks for tuning into our virtual State of the City address. This address is normally held on this day because normally tomorrow is Tucker Day, one of our biggest festivals of the year on our main street. But these are unusual times, and we have to press on. So I have a few friends in the room. Thanks to council members Ann Lerner and Michelle Pankava for being here. Our city manager Tammy Hanlon's on hand. Matt Holmes and Sonny Shubsky from our communications department, a couple of DeKalb's finest keeping things in order, and technical support from Joseph Blackwell. But other than that, it's an empty room, so there won't be any uproarious rounds of applause. We won't have what we might otherwise in the way of technological spectaculars for you. We will have a few graphics here, but mostly you get just me for the next little while. And if you like to see the recording later, I think it'll be a little more visually appealing. So thanks for being a part. I did something in preparing for my remarks today that I'm willing to bet none of you has ever done. In fact, if you told me you had, I would probably think less of you for it, because what I did was I watched all three of our previous State of the City addresses, back to back to back, almost 3 hours worth. And I did that mostly as a check on myself, kind of a way of holding myself accountable. I wanted to be sure that we were following through on the things we've said in the past, and that we're judging ourselves by standards that are the same from year to year. I noticed a few things, which I'll get to, but first, despite our public health challenges of the moment, the state of the city itself is strong, it's vibrant, it's serving its citizens well, it's progressing in its maturity as an organization, and we are prepared for the future. Crime's down, property values are up, opportunities are limitless. I should point out that although the coronavirus makes the current state of our lives unstable, to say the least, that state is neither normal nor permanent. This address is not going to be about coronavirus. Although it has and is still dominating our daily lives, it does not define us. And there will be a day when it no longer saps the tremendous amount of time and energy that it does now. Although it's taken a great personal toll on a lot of our friends and family, loved ones, these tense days, these severely altered days and lives and lifestyles will one day be part of history. And despite the cost, I believe we'll look back on it with pride and gratitude for the men and women who devoted themselves to serving us as first responders, and the researchers and scientists, many of whom are our neighbors, conquered this disease by developing the treatments, the vaccines, the diagnostic testing, and all the things that were required to finally end its domination of our daily lives. Earlier today, I recorded a separate video statement on the state of our fight against coronavirus and its effect on our community, and I invite you to view that on our city website, tuckerga.gov/mayor. You can find it there starting now and anytime. So how can we say that the state of the city is strong and vibrant and ready for the future? Well, we have to hold our work up to a standard. That's what I've tried to do in each of the previous three addresses, and it's what I wanted to do today. At bottom, cities really have two responsibilities: service delivery and enhancing the quality of life of our citizens. Lots of mayors, lots of councils, lots of cities have gotten themselves into trouble by getting out of their lane. By diverting into divisive issues that are not pertinent to their mission, they sometimes sacrifice their credibility or ruin their own effectiveness, and too often divide their communities over the wrong issues instead of sticking to the mission. The most basic way to state our overall mission is that we want to deliver municipal services at the highest level possible and improve the quality of life for the citizens of Tucker. But we have to be able to define that, and we have to be able to judge whether we're achieving it. And it's a pretty individual thing, what you think is a high quality of life or what I do. But there are a number of things that we do, that we use to go about gaining a consensus around that. In the beginning was our charter, which is our most basic foundational document and was adopted by a huge majority of our citizens 4.5 years ago. It tells us why we exist. It gives us certain authority to pursue those reasons for existence, and it puts some limits on what we can and can't do. Then we developed a comprehensive plan called Tucker Tomorrow, which was a very thorough, very broad community input process where we all got to express our hopes and our desires for what Tucker would become and how we would conduct ourselves. It's a big document, there's a lot of detail, but it boiled our priorities down to 5 core goals. Then we added specific master plans for a whole range of things like transportation, parks and recreation, our downtown, trails and connectivity, historic resources, and much more. As those plans age and circumstances change, we'll update those plans together. Each year in the meantime, we implement those plans through the budget, which we're working on now, through developing strategies that provide the path for getting there, and through the daily work of our outstanding professional staff, who are the hands and feet and brains who get it done. Under the leadership of City Manager Tammy Hamlin, we've developed a very effective organization for seeing that the city's priorities are pursued with tireless devotion, and that each next step is aligned with our goals. So I want to thank Tammy. I wish you could see her and I could stand her up in front of you, but she does great work, and we're very grateful to her. It's important to point out that the people who serve as mayor and council members, as those people in those roles change and new people rotate in, there shouldn't be major deviations from the plan. Those plans were developed by you. They'll be modified, updated by you. Your elected leaders should be held accountable to those plans and not think it's their job to change them every time new officials are elected. Our charter gives pretty wide latitude as to what's allowable for us to engage in, but it's almost silent on what's wise for us to engage in. Decisions about the wisdom of taking on various things lies with your elected officials, and our success depends upon not being diverted from our mission. I'm proud of our success in keeping our focus on the right things and learning to work well together. 4 years in, and we're still focused on the basic core of what we're called to do with no end in sight. There will always be shiny things to distract us, issues we could spend our resources on that might seem good, but would distract us from our core duties and create division where we most benefit from unity. So, as is the custom for this sort of address, we'll talk about what our core responsibilities are, how we've addressed them, and we'll talk about the future and what's next for us in achieving our goals and fulfilling the promise that is Tucker. At the most basic level, Tucker in every city is in the service delivery business. Tucker directly provides 3 specific services outlined in state law for municipalities: parks and recreation, planning and zoning, code enforcement. Of course, we do much more than that. We're also responsible for ensuring that all the municipal services are delivered and delivered well. Most of them, like fire and police, water and sewer, roads and drainage, sanitation, many others, are done by way of cooperative agreements with DeKalb County. Beyond all that, we provide many other services through the city, like business licenses, alcohol licenses, courts for code enforcement, as well as certain local criminal offenses, building permits, inspections, much more. And integral to all that, to the point that it's often not thought of as a separate service, is community and economic development. It's a lot of work. It adds up to improving the quality of life for the people of Tucker, and it doesn't leave a lot of time or interest for involving ourselves in issues that don't bear directly on that goal. So let's talk about the work your city's been doing and how that work will lead us into a future with better and better quality of life. The first priority stated in our comprehensive plan is to enhance downtown Tucker. We are blessed with a main street and a downtown core that is the envy of most other cities. In fact, a lot of them are trying to create what we have from scratch without letting anybody know that it's all brand new. Ours is as authentic as it gets. It's attracting attention from developers and restaurant goers and others from all over the region. Our festivals, including Tucker Day, which will be held this year in the fall, our Independence Day celebration, which will be held one way or another on July the 3rd, the chili cook-off, the Taste of Tucker, the cruise-ins, trunk or treat, all the other activities held there are a defining part of our identity, and all have been growing exponentially over the last several years. You've surely noticed the sidewalk project that's underway downtown, finally, after 14 or 15 years in the making. It will be completed in stages throughout this year, and it'll be fully completed early next year. If we didn't do anything else, that one project would tell the world that Tucker is open for business. Inviting businesses, inviting residents to plant themselves right in the middle of the action, but we're doing a lot more than that. In 2019, we adopted our first downtown master plan that provides a framework for the kind of development we want to see there. It tells developers, investors, and potential residents that if they want to build what we want to have down there, we're not only going to make it easy, we want to help. Also in 2019 and earlier this year, we completed a sidewalk on Idlewood Road that connects Tucker Middle School to downtown. It makes a safe corridor for all pedestrians, but especially our youth, between those two important points. Thanks to the Tucker North Lake CID, there are plans developing for reactivating the old alleyways, which will one day be a signature attraction for downtown. And we got underway with the very first leg of what will ultimately be a 32-mile system of trails connecting downtown to schools, parks, the library, and other public spaces. It's a long-term project, but we're taking the first steps, and you'll see results in 2020. The second priority from Tucker tomorrow is to improve transportation connections. So I just mentioned some transportation connections relative to downtown, but we're working elsewhere too. We spent a great deal of time and energy engaging in the work about to begin on I-285. As you may know, there's a major project coming to add managed lanes to the whole northern half of the perimeter. And Tucker, again partnering with the Tucker North Lake CID, is fully engaged to see that Tucker benefits from it. Not only have we had deep input into what the interchanges at Lawrenceville Highway, La Vista Road, and North Lake Parkway will look like, but we're also a founding member of the top-end mayor's study of public transportation in that same corridor. That means advocating for bus rapid transit in those managed lanes with a terminal station for service in the North Lake area. That means our citizens will have access to transit that can get them to places like Perimeter Mall, Northside and Children's Hospitals, even to a Braves game without having to get in their cars. And for those who prefer walking or running or biking, the trail system I mentioned includes connections to trail systems outside Tucker itself, so users can get to many of those same places by alternate means. The third priority identified was to enhance and improve neighborhoods. Now we've learned this one means different things to different people. But we've approved and denied zoning applications throughout the year with this goal in mind. Sometimes it means not allowing development in existing neighborhoods that conflicts with what's already there. Sometimes it means new homes in neighborhoods to replace empty or blighted parcels. Sometimes it means new kinds of neighborhoods, like the senior living facility on North Lake Parkway, or the new apartments just down the street from there. And sometimes it means better law enforcement, to improve quality of life for people right where they already live, but where they shouldn't have to live in fear for their lives and their property. We've acted on all those needs, focusing on being sure there are a range of housing options for everyone who wants to live their lives in Tucker. We have brand new neighborhoods coming off Lawrenceville Highway near Rehoboth Baptist, La Vista at Midvale, and elsewhere that will add new neighbors and new friends to those of us who love to call Tucker home. The fourth priority is to strengthen recreational and community resources. This is one where Director Rick Robertson and his team have made great gains, and it's a special point of pride. In the last year, we've added 2 major new parks to our system. Just about a year ago, I reported to you that we were about to acquire Fitzgerald Field in a unique cooperative arrangement with the Tucker Football League. We did complete that, and in the last year, we've completely overhauled that park and brought all the deferred maintenance up to speed. It's beautiful. It adds significantly to our field capacity for a variety of sports, and it's already produced greatly expanded opportunities for programming. Just last week, we added a new park, another 4-acre park in the Smoke Rise area that includes a second public swimming pool, as well as additional lighted tennis courts, and will soon be home to the first and only park playground in the eastern half of Tucker. At the same time, we are completing a total renovation of the gym at the rec center, converting it from an agey, dingy, leaky, gymnastics-only facility to a well-lit, multi-use facility with modern floors and other appointments. Since it reopened, the rec center has hosted the City of Tucker's first ever youth basketball league, and it also hosted the Georgia Recreation and Parks Association's 10 and under state basketball championship. The gym now offers open play for basketball, as well as indoor pickleball, which has been more popular than you could possibly imagine. There are 6 courts, and they are almost always full on pickleball days. And by the way, the new park I mentioned will also offer 4 outdoor pickleball courts for the fastest growing recreational sport in the country. We had our first full season at Cover Swimming Pool with the splash pad, which was a huge success. And speaking of swimming, we also hosted the Georgia Recreation and Parks Association's District 6 swim meet, which included a team from Tucker for the very first time. Last summer, we averaged over 140 kids per week in our summer camp. Let me say, I've charged Rip and his amazing staff to keep looking and keep innovating for a way to hold summer camp this year, and to open our pool and our tennis courts and our other recreation facilities in some form just as soon as possible. In all of our departments, we are relentlessly looking for ways to get over, around, or through this virus, especially in regard to supporting our youth. Elsewhere around town, we're adding small parking lots and pavilions at John's Homestead Park and Smoke Rise Park to make them more accessible to more people. We're adding 2 new restrooms at Henderson Park, one near the community garden and one near the tennis courts. We updated trails and bridges and boardwalks in Henderson Park and Colford Park and Smoke Rise Park, all using Department of Natural Resources grant funding, other people's money. And we completed a total renovation of Peters Park, which had been one of the most neglected of all. And the 5th priority, bolster the economic base, goes directly to community and economic development. This is an area where we've been extremely successful, and I think so much comes to us organically, and then John McHenry and his team sometimes make the rest look so easy. The work and planning that goes into it can easily be overlooked. There are actually 2 parts to this. If you think of economic development as kind of the sales arm, the group that's out trying to attract new businesses to the city, community development is something like product development. In other words, you've got to have a great product or the selling gets much more difficult. As to community development, we have a great advantage in our location between I-85, I-285, and US 78, which is exceptionally attractive to manufacturers and distributors. Potential residents who want to live nearer the center of the metro area without paying the high taxes in some places and the high prices in others are finding that Tucker makes a great option. Beyond our built-in advantages, we've worked hard on product development. We completely rewrote our zoning overlays into special zoning districts that communicate clearly to the development community what sort of development it is we want to see, and allows them lots of flexibility within that to create and innovate. We rewrote our sign code to make it easier for everyone to understand and to make the city more aesthetically pleasing. We've streamlined our land use process to make it more efficient, encourage more community input, and make it shorter to complete for developers. And we've taken a variety of other smaller steps to improve our product offering, if you will. They add up to making Tucker a special place, noticeably different from surrounding areas. I would challenge you to do what I had the occasion to do recently. Drive into Tucker on one of the main entries from one or more of the surrounding areas, and take special note of the difference in appearance. Do you see a lot of stacks of tires at the street? Rows of gaudy feather signs at the curb in front of businesses? Lots of flashing neon, rope lights? I think you'll notice better maintained business fronts and streetscapes, and a whole range of small improvements that let you know you're in a place that cares for itself. And our economic development team has done a great job promoting our product. Prior to this virus, we were regularly adding an average of 25 to 30 new businesses every month to the city of Tucker. 2 new breweries opened behind Local 7. 2 new restaurants will soon open on Main Street. Sugar Bowl Bakery will soon relocate to Montreal Road, providing 400 jobs in Tucker. And I should say that that was the first big cooperative effort with Decide to Cab and the Georgia Department of Economic Development in a long time. We had a new distribution warehouse open and lease up on Greer Road in the Mountain Industrial area, and that one was built on spec, which means they built it on faith that if they built it, they could lease it up, and they did. Georgia Furniture Mart will open their new logistics center this year in the same area, serving the entire metro area of Atlanta from Tucker, Georgia. In the North Lake area, of course, you know the mall is being redeveloped and reimagined as an employment center with lots of new amenities. A large portion of the mall is being renovated for Emory Healthcare, where 1,600 employees will soon be spending their days. That'll take about another 18 months or so, but in the meantime, we've been issuing permits for new restaurants and other businesses who want to be there. The Meridian Power Center, just on the other side of 285 from there, is now 100% leased up after 3 years in business. Not 90 or 95 or 98, 100% leased up. And we thank them for their confidence, for their cooperation, and for their investment in Tucker, which is paying off for everyone. Across the street, across North Lake Parkway from Meridian, is the senior living community I mentioned. And later this year, Fairfield Properties will open 245 new units of upscale apartment community right next door. And on the other side from them, we just approved a redevelopment of the gas station and convenience store on the corner of La Vista and North Lake Parkway that will improve services significantly and improve the appearance of the whole area. On the east side of town, we just approved a new 99,000 square foot grocery anchored shopping center that will provide restaurants, shops, and other amenities for the whole city. Located next to a newly built Smoke Rise Elementary School, a newly relocated manufacturing operation, and one of our most active churches, this area will see new life and vitality where there's been mostly an eyesore for the last 15 years or more. All around town, we've added businesses from restaurants to medical services, shops and professional firms of every kind, and more. There are so many to thank and so much credit to go around, it's hard to mention them all. But in addition to John McHenry, I want to acknowledge the great work of our planning director, Courtney Smith, our business outreach coordinator, Angela Brooks, and our chief code enforcement officer, Maricela Perdomo. And our community partners, including Matt Lee at Tucker North Lake CID and Emery Morseberger at Tucker Summit CID, are indispensable, along with our many community organizations like OTMA and Tucker Civic and Tucker Business, many others. And of course, our boards and commissions, filled with volunteers representing the community's interests, on boards like the Downtown Development Authority, led by Damian Claire Presley, our Planning Commission, led by Catherine Atterbury, and our Zoning Board of Appeals, chaired by Keith Easterling. Also supporting all this effort is the service we call Public Works, which you can think of as roads and related infrastructure, where we have been busy. This has been our most ambitious year yet, programming 80 streets and over 19 miles of paved roads. That's 45,000 tons of asphalt, which may sound a little noxious, but I can tell you it's music to the ears of the people who live and drive on those roads every day. At the conclusion of this contract, we will have spent approximately $10 million over 3 years paving the worst streets in the city, and that's certainly a huge improvement in the quality of life for every one of us. We've improved the safety of our children and all pedestrians by installing 7 signalized pedestrian crossings and 7 more school zone flashing signals at schools around the city. These are immediate, high-impact projects that make our streets safer for many of our most vulnerable citizens. We filled numerous sidewalk gaps throughout the city, making sidewalks safer and more usable for everyone. And we're working right now with the Georgia DOT on implementing multiple intersection improvements to make some of our worst intersections safer and less congested. There are a number of other initiatives we've taken to support and bolster our ability to improve and sustain a higher quality of life. These include some big changes to better align our personnel to their duties and enable them to keep performing at a higher and higher level. Since last year, when our business licensing process, frankly, was subpar, was not serving our business community well, we hired a new chief financial officer, Tony Joe Howard, who has revamped the entire department and its processes. We've received rave reviews from applicants since then, and I can tell you our budgeting process has advanced by light years. So thank you to Tony Joe and all the folks in finance who are doing such a great job. We also brought our parks employees in-house, meaning we put them under our own payroll. That gives us the ability to run our own summer camps, to transport campers in our own vehicles to the pool or on other field trips, and to generally provide a much more robust experience for them. And speaking of realignment, we brought all our own court functions into the city of Tucker this year. During our early startup period, our friends in Clarkston leased us their courtroom space as we needed it, but we now hold all of our own court proceedings right here in Tucker, making for a much better process for everyone involved and saving some money in the process. But the biggest realignment you'll see this year, in fact in the next 2 months, is the consolidation of all our city offices, except for the parks people, into a new interim city hall on a 10-year lease. We spent months searching, negotiating, and designing it, and it's now under construction, and we'll be moving in during the summer. This will greatly improve communication and collaboration for staff, increase convenience for our citizens, and make for a significantly more efficient operation. It's located in office space near the corner of Lawrenceville Highway and North Lake Parkway, but we'll continue to have most of our public meetings right here in our space at the annex. And I can't take for granted our amazing communications team, led by Matt Holmes. They work around the clock, promoting, attending, and recording all of our functions for posterity. They produce an award-winning monthly magazine that's beautiful and full of great information, useful information for our citizens. They make sure the details of every meeting are announced and reported on afterwards. They support all the public events downtown and are directly responsible for producing the Tucker Summer of Fun series, which includes our Independence Day celebration, Movies on Main, National Night Out, and a number of others. And finally, some new and coming soon initiatives that will also expand our ability to improve quality of life. We conducted our first charter review this year. Led by Derek West, it was a thorough, community-led process. It produced a big list of recommended changes to our charter to help us operate better and serve our citizens better. Many of those we've already adopted, and more we'll be considering in the coming months. We formed a public finance authority led by Terry Granderson, which helps us with leases and purchases of public property, property for public use. We formed an urban redevelopment authority that we will soon stand up to help us eliminate blight and crime in some of our most troublesome areas. And we expanded our planning commission so that as our caseload grows, we're sure to be getting the public input and recommendations we need. And finally, a word about crime. Maybe our greatest success. Our leader in this area is our police liaison, Lieutenant David Shepner, who maintains the communication both ways between the city and the precinct, handles everything we need, proactively serves our community. He also briefs staff and council every 2 weeks about every aspect of crime in the city. He answers our questions, discusses strategy with us, and I believe that relationship is responsible for an almost unheard of level of success in crime fighting in the city of Tucker. Last year, property crime in the city of Tucker was down 25% versus the year prior. 25%. Violent crime was down 16% versus the year prior, and those are huge numbers. This year to date, even in the uncertainty of the pandemic, property crime is down another 3%, and violent crime is down 38% versus last year's record low levels. All the credit goes to Lieutenant Shepner and the outstanding team at the Tucker Precinct, led by Major Craig Medlin. We couldn't be more grateful for them, to them, and all the men and women who serve and protect us. So you can see we've been busy, and we're going to stay that way. I hope you also see that there's a method to the madness. We're not operating on a whim or the flavor of the day. We're following the plan you've set out for us, and we'll continue to work with everything we have in the pursuit of those goals. I want to thank you all for supporting this great city and people who live and work and play and pray here. Our current state is, in fact, strong, vibrant, and we're prepared for the future together. I look forward to seeing every one of you on Main Street very, very soon.